to the Hawthorn Cottage Craft podcast. This is episode 48. I am Kate and you can find me on Instagram as Kate_Hawthorn Cottage Craft, on Ravelry as a runner bean. You're very welcome if you're here for the first time. It's lovely to see you. And you're incredibly welcome back if you're a returning viewer. It has been 18 months. I think my last episode, episode 47, was in April of 2021, I think. So if you're a returning viewer, thank you for your patience and thank you for coming back to see me again. I also want to thank you for all the messages that I've got over the last 18 months. They have been so appreciated. People asking how I am, checking that I'm all right, and messaging Selma from Little Big Knits to check with her if I'm all right as well. And I just really appreciate all those comments. It has been a tough 18 months. Least said about it, probably the better. But after my last episode, my mental health took a complete nosedive. And unfortunately, while I was dealing with that, a member of my family also had, my immediate family here, had a major mental health problem, issue. And that's still ongoing and we're still working through it. But hopefully we're on the mend, if that's the right word. And hopefully it means I can be here more often. I just haven't had the mental capacity to do very much, to be quite honest. But I have missed this. I've come to the point now where I'm really missing it. For a while I couldn't even think about it, to be honest. And now I'm really thinking about it all the time. And I'm really glad to be back. So I apologise again for the long absence. It is what it is. And hopefully this is me back in again. I have things to share with you. I was going to say I can't share everything that I've done over the last 18 months. I probably am sharing most of it actually, because there's a pile here, but for me it's not as much as my usual amount. But I have things to show with you. I also want to point out the different background. I am in exactly the same spot, but there was a touch of renovation done in my craft room. I have a window finally. There's actually natural light coming into the room, which is such a lovely thing. This used to be the back room of the house opening out onto the garden, and now there's another room. So it meant this was a bit of a tunnel in a dark room. It's now a lot brighter. I have to say I was very, very fortunate. We'd been waiting for a long time to get the window put in, and I happened to go on a trip to Canada in June to get a bit of a break. Which I will link a video about that somewhere up here. Selma from Little Big Knits recorded a video that I'm in and talking about the trip, so I'll link that up here. But I had just literally gone. I think I was in the airport in Toronto on my way when I got a call from my husband saying that the builder was coming the following day. So I missed all the renovations, which was lovely because when I came back the room was painted and things were set back in again. But that's the new setting. It used to be a huge yarn wall or big cabinet here with yarn and crafty things in it. I've got rid of that. There's a sideboard that most of my yarn's in, but I'd be a liar to say that it's all in there. There's a shelf over here with some yarn and there's baskets everywhere with yarn in it. But I've tried to squeeze most of it in to here. So it's a new setting, which I absolutely love, in the original place. So, on with episode 48. The one thing that I have knit consistently over the last while are sweaters. I have 5. There's a story, but I have 5 sweaters here. I think I might have knit another one. I can't remember. But there is a bit of a recurring theme. When I was last talking to you, I had one ranunculus It was a silver grey ranunculus, and I think very soon after, or round about the time I recorded last, I don't think I had started it in the last episode, I had cast on another ranunculus sweater by Midori Hirose, and this is what came off the needles. They're a bit creased because they've been in the cupboard. This is knit in ancient arch yarn that Selma from Little Big Knits had gifted me for Christmas, and I love this denim blue. This is a beautiful sweater with a white shirt and jeans. I always knit the body a bit longer than the pattern. It is a cropped sweater, very boxy style. I think the pattern now has actually been sized. It originally was one size, but I think now it has been sized. I still work from the original pattern because it's the one I had, and even with my expanding girth over the last while, the boxy nature of this sweater, it still sits really beautifully. So I'm really pleased with this. I wear this a lot with my jeans, and I do the sleeve slightly longer. It's a 3/4 length sleeve. Can't really show it off, but yeah, it really is one of my favorite sweaters to wear. It gets a lot of wear. So that was the first ranunculus that I knit. I knit all my ranunculus sweaters on a 6mm needle, which is a US 10, and then because I do what do you call it? Bind off. It'll come to me. I dropped down to a 5, I think it's 5mm, which is a US 8. It is so long since I've done this that all the terminology has just gone from my head. But this was the first ranunculus that I knit. The second one I knit was more of a summer project. What I love about the ranunculus is that it's actually quite a warm sweater for being such an airy, light sweater. It's knit. This one I think was fingering weight and mohair, I think. It's very often lace weight with mohair, and it really has, I mean, it's, you can see through it. It's a very light sweater, but it's surprisingly warm. It's just the right temperature for me. Being a woman of a certain age now, I heat up very easily, and I do have a drink with me. I hope you've all got your beverage of choice. I've water for a change because I'm overheating. But this is a really good sweater for keeping in the warmth but not overheating. So I wanted one for the summer. I mean, in this country you can get away with knitwear most of the year. And as I mentioned earlier, I had taken a trip to Canada in June and spent over 2 weeks with Selma and Holly and Crystal, and we had an absolute ball. But Selma and I went to Montreal the first weekend. I was there for the weekend, stayed with friends, Paul and Antoine, and did a tour of the yarn shops, which was amazing. And I bought yarn for another ranunculus and started it when it was there. And again, that video that I will have linked has details of that because I talk about it on it, about starting it. And this is what I came up with. This time I did the short sleeve version because it was a summer knit, summer colours. And I ended up knitting a colour that I never would have thought of knitting. And I think I suited. Maybe you think differently, but I think I suited. I had looked at my usual, and if you've been here any length of time, you know that my colours are blue, green and grey. Those are my go-to colours most of the time. Certain times of the year I might go towards a rusty colour because I love the autumn, but I would very rarely venture to this. And I had green, I think, in my hand. Maybe I had blue again, but I didn't want another blue ranunculus because I've got one. I didn't want a grey one because I've got one. And Selma talked me into this. So this is knit in Handmaiden lace silk linen. And I bought this in La Maison Tricoté, which is one of the Montreal yarn shops that I visited. And the fluff is Cumulus Fyberspates by Fyberspates, and it's a Surrey alpaca mulberry silk, and it's lovely. I have to say it's a step up from the mohair. It really is. It's so soft. It was like knitting with a cloud. And I got it in Boutique Crochet Company in Verdun in Montreal, which I have to say is one of my favourite yarn shops ever. I loved that store. I loved all the stores I visited, but that one just blew me away. I think it was because there were so many. I mean, that Cumulus by Fyberspates is a common enough yarn, but there were so many local yarns within that store, and I did come away with some. There's an in-house yarn brand that they dye, and I'll put the name of it here because again it has gone, and I brought some of it home to knit with, but it was such a beautiful store. But this is what I became my travel knit, and it's such a quick knit. I don't think it took very long after I got home finishing it. I think I had most of the yoke done, if not all of it, before I left Canada. And the short sleeves are lovely. I wear it with a little vest underneath it in the summer because again it is transparent, and it's just lovely. It was light enough here to wear through the summer months, which was quite mild I think here this year, but it was beautiful to wear. And I've just topped it off with a little tag at the bottom, and I picked this up. I can't remember the company, but one of the trips we did when I was away was to the Kawartha Lakes Yarn Festival in Fenelon Falls in Ontario, which was such a good trip. We visited the Yarn Festival, spent the day there. We went then and stayed in Picton and did the shops there. They were beautiful pottery shops. And we visited Topsy Farm on Amherst Island, and over the weeks and months to come I'll tell you more about that and what all I bought. But when I was at Kawartha Lakes, I bought these little tags, and I thought it was appropriate to put the Canadian maple leaf on this sweater because the yarn was bought there and it was started there. It's my Canadian ranunculus, even though it's an apricot colour. So I really love this one. It got a lot of wear over the summer. So that was ranunculus, my third ranunculus altogether. And then I was going through an old project bag, and I found yarn that I've had since, I would say 2015. And it was lying in the bag, and I had bought it originally to knit a shawl. That it was a Isolde Teague shawl, lace. For some reason I decided I was going to knit a lace shawl, and it never ever materialised. And it was lying in the bag, but I loved the colour, and I thought, you know, that's lace weight. There's enough in there to make another ranunculus. So it's Knitpicks lace weight. I can't tell you what particular line it's from because it's from 2015, but it's Knitpicks lace weight, deep sash. And then I bought some Drops Kid Silk in the rust colour, and I knit my autumn ranunculus. Autumn, for anybody who knows me, is my favourite season. I love the colours, and I love this sweater. Again, it's slightly longer in the body than the pattern, think I knit something like 10 inches, possibly, before I do the rib, I think. And again, the sleeves 3/4 length. My favourite is the 3/4 length sleeve. The short sleeve's lovely, and that little one that I showed you, but my preference is the 3/4 length sleeve. So that is ranunculus number 4, and the third one I've knit since I've spoken to you last. It really is such a versatile pattern. All the colours, it's so easy to wear. I really should try and knit a different pattern for a change, but it is amongst my firm favourites, and it probably won't be my last one, to be brutally honest. I have enough double skeins of fingering weight yarn that I can't do very much else with other than a shawl or socks, and another ranunculus might come out of it. The other sweater that I knit and that I absolutely adore was the turtle dove. And this is my turtle dove. It's a pattern by Melissa Clulo, who was originally of Espace Tricot, and this is still an Espace Tricot pattern. I still think it's free on their Ravelry page. Melissa is now Sonder Yarn Company, but this is one of her patterns when she was part of Espace Tricot, and this is the quickest knit. It is knit in bulky yarn, and I mean, a few days knits this. It just whips up so quickly. I have knitted in CaMaRose Snefug, which is an alpaca cotton merino mix, and the colour is Pudder, Pudder, and it has this long raglan decrease, so it's quite a dropped, there is a name for that, sleeve. So the sleeve itself is quite short, but it comes quite far down because of the length of the raglan drop. My words, really, you'll have to forgive me today. I'm rusty. I'm trying to get back into this again. But this is such a snuggly, soft sweater. You can wear it next to skin without a problem. I tend to put a vest underneath it, but you don't need to. I love it, and it has the split hem with the back slightly longer than the front. I think there's another version where you don't split the hem. I like the split hem, and sometimes I wear the neck rolled down and sometimes I keep it up, and it really is such a snuggly sweater. I knit this on because it's bulky yarn, it's also knit on a 7mm, which is a US 10.75, and it's also a 6mm, which is a US 10. It really is quick and speedy. So if you want a simple sweater, I would call this quite a beginner friendly sweater, and it'll take you no time to knit, so there's a really good sense of satisfaction. It's actually a really good thing that it's quick to knit, because this is my second one. This is my second turtle dove. You didn't see the first one. I knit this one a few months ago. I knit the original one, I think it was last August or September, for the autumn, and I'll show you it. This is my first one. Don't think it fits anymore. I do not know. I decided I wash my hand knit socks in the washing machine on a hand wash setting, and I thought I would put in my sweater. Rookie, silly mistake. It was, I had even put the spin down to the lowest. It was a cool setting, and this is how it came out. I was devastated. The fabric that this is made, I think the army or the security forces could use this as bulletproof material. It is solid. Somebody said, oh, put it in your teddy bear. I can't get it over the head. It is solid. So this was the first one. It originally looked like this, and now looks like this. It now hangs in the craft room as a piece of art, or just a reminder of a silly mistake. But I literally took it out, saw it, cried for all of 10 or 15 minutes, and ordered the yarn again because I loved this so much. But this is what happened to the first one. It is as solid as a rock. So that's what happens when you put something that is not superwash into the washing machine, even on the lowest setting. So that was Turtle Dove. 2 turtle doves since I last spoke to you. One of them became a bit of a disaster. But of all the sweaters that I have knit over the last few months have been really enjoyable. They've been easy knits, which has been needed in what I have said has been a problematic few months, and I needed things that were easy, that didn't require much brain power, that were comfortable to wear once they were done. I didn't want anything restrictive, I just wanted to be comfortable, and those have fit the bill really well. So that was the sweaters. I have also knit some socks. I think I have other socks, but I thought I would show you a couple of the most recent pairs that I've knit. Obviously Halloween has passed, and I wanted to knit a pair of Halloween socks, particularly with Hocus Pocus 2 coming out. And if you've watched Hocus Pocus 2, I wonder what you thought of it. I liked it. Maybe my expectations were too high because I love the first one. I liked it, but I felt I was slightly disappointed, and I did like it, but it was slightly disappointing. Anyway, I was geared up to watch it, and I knit a pair of socks in honour of it, ready to wear for the occasion. And this is the Winnie Sanderson colourway by Legacy Fibre Arts. I have the Three Sisters colours, and I'll knit the other ones for another year, but this is the Winnie Sanderson, and I love these. They're just plain vanilla socks. The mini that was sent with it was the purple. I had the green in stash, and I thought the green would make it. There was enough to do the heels in purple, but I wanted a bit of a difference, so I put in this. I think it's West Yorkshire Spinners from a Christmas colourway I'd done. But I love these. They're just a plain vanilla sock. The only difference is I've always knit a 64 stitch sock, but I have put on a bit of weight in the last year and a half, and I felt my socks were quite snug, so I've gone up to a 68 stitch. It's a 2x2 rib. I do it in a 2.5mm needle, which is a US 1.5, if I remember rightly. Yep. And they're just plain vanilla. 2x2 rib, plain vanilla, and an afterthought heel. I do the kind of afterthought heel where I put in the waste yarn at the point where the heel is going to go in, and then I knit on, and then I come back, lift the stitches, pull the waste yarn out. I don't cut. I've never tried that. I think I'm not brave enough. But this is before a afterthought heel, and I'll put the link to the tutorial that I used in the description box below. So, simple pair of socks. That was socks number 1. The Legacy Fibre Arts Hocus Pocus colours are stunning, and really, really enjoyed that. This is a pair of socks that I had cast on last year, and then they got set aside. Get them on the blockers just so that you see them better. And the yarn that I used for these socks, again, it's another autumn colorway. The yarn is from Craft House Magic, and it was Ellie's Pumpkin Patch colorway. And this is the socks. I knit these toe up. I used, is it Judy's Magic cast on, and knit the toes. And then, I mean, they were going to be plain vanilla socks. I decided to put a wee bit of pattern into it. I didn't follow any pattern. I just did a few purl rows, bit of a break, a few more purl rows, and then the rest of the sock, and it just gave it a wee bit of interest. Again, the heels are the afterthought heels. I wasn't quite sure I had enough of the green to do the cuffs again, so I just decided to do those in the same colour. And they're just a lovely little pair of autumn socks, pumpkin patch. And I'm really pleased with those. I think both socks are 75/25 superwash merino nylon. I think I haven't kept the tags and I can't remember. So, I think they're merino nylon. And again, these were 68 stitches. I think actually these were 64 to here, or were 64, and I was only on the foot of both socks when I took them up again this year. So what I did was I kept the 64, and then after the heel where I'd put in the waist yarn, I increased to 68 so that I was finishing them where they would fit better around my legs. So that was those were the socks that I knit. I also wanted to just show you a pair of socks. I don't get many hand knit gifts, so when I get them, they're really special. And when I was in Canada, our friend Crystal, when we went on our little road trip to Picton, had knit me a pair of socks, and these are in double knit yarn, and I have some sock sets that are double knit and I haven't used them yet, and I'm really desperate to use them now that I've been wearing these. These are the most cozy, comfortable socks, and Crystal knit these for me, and I was thrilled to bits to get a hand knit gift, and they always bring special memories and warm fuzzy feelings when I wear them. So I wanted to show you those. So that is all the things that I have finished, or most of the things that I've finished in the last 18 months. So what am I working on now? Well, I'm not working on an awful lot at the moment. I do have a sweater that I had started, but I'll talk about it on another episode because I haven't done anything on it in a while. But I have started a second Sabella sweater. I had knit one a number of years ago in a grey alpaca, and I'm now knitting another one, but I haven't done very much of it because the ranunculus, the rusty coloured ranunculus, took over. And now I am actually doing something that, if you know me at all, is very rare. I'm gift knitting. I don't gift knit. I knit for myself on the whole. But I decided this year I would knit a couple of gifts for my husband for Christmas. So I decided, he's now, his work has changed slightly in the last little while. He is a lecturer in the university, and the university campus was at the bottom of our street, basically. But they have built a new campus in the city centre, and they're closing off the campus that is local to me. And he is now having to commute to work for the first time ever in his career, which is a bit of a shock to his system, but it means he has to stand and wait in public transport, which he's never had to do before. And coming into the winter, he'll need a hat. So I decided I would knit him a hat. And I chose because I'd watched Molly of a Homespun House and she was knitting the Oslo hat, and I thought, oh, that looks really good and I love the style of it. And knit Peter an Oslo hat. So he's very conservative in his colours, very conservative. You don't do anything bright or patterned. So this is testament of how much I love this man. We celebrated our silver wedding anniversary this year, and I think this is proof that I'm going to keep him, because I am knitting him a black hat. And it's another CaMaRose yarn. I don't know if you can see that particularly well. There we go. And it's, I don't actually know what the yarn content is. It's written in another language. I think it's merino. I think it's merino. But it is 4-ply. So it's sock weight yarn, and you hold it double. And the hat is working on a technique that I've never done before. I've never done a folded brim before. So I have knit my folded brim. It's going to be really hard to show because it's black. And I have it knit in, and then you turn your work and you're working on the inside and knitting it in the body of the hat. So I'm working up the body of the hat, and then it'll fold again. So it'll be 3 layers thick round his ears, and other than that, it is plain stocking stitch. And so this is a pattern, the Oslo hat, and it's by Petite Knit, and I'm knitting this on a 3.5mm, which is a US 4, and I'm holding the yarn double. Now I have to say, black isn't my favourite colour to knit with, and I'm using small needles and it feels as though it's taking forever, but it's getting there. And I'm housing it in a little bag that I made a few years ago for the Ullen Knit Retreat, but I have a little pin on it which is, I don't know if you can see it particularly well, it says 30 minutes of knitting, and this is a Crazy Sock Lady podcast thing. She does 30 minutes of knitting on something in the morning, and this is my 30 minutes of knitting bag. So in the morning I make sure I do 30 minutes of this, and then during the day I might knit more on it, but it gets a dedicated 30 minutes every day just to work on this, because it is quite tedious, and but it's a labour of love, and it will be ready well in time for Christmas for him. So I'll be able to keep you updated on that. But I'm also knitting him another gift. Aren't I good? And this is in a Sandy by the Lakeside bunny bag. I am knitting him socks. And I've talked about sock knitting for Peter before, but it's in black. But anyway, I got this yarn. It's from Les Garçons. I bought it a couple of years ago, I think, with the intent of knitting Peter socks, and it comes with the cream in a mini. It comes with a little tiny nugget of grey, and then the black. Now they have a pattern online for it, but I'm not using it. I am knitting, it's 68 stitch for him as well, and I just did a 1x1 rib of the cream and the grey, and then I thought that looked quite dull on its own, so I had red just in my scraps, and I put the red in, and it reminds me of a wee bit of I think, is it Roots Canada do this kind of design. So I'm just knitting a plain vanilla sock. I'm actually quite enjoying these. The yarn is really nice to knit with. It is, if there's a label, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And as I say, it's like our song, and it's just really nice to knit with. So I'm doing a heel flap and gusset on his socks, and I'm on the heel flap. It is so difficult to show black. It's just a slip stitch heel flap. And I'm working on those. What I did do, because I always have hit second sock syndrome, what I did do is I have on another set of needles, it's a bit of a mess, I have the cuff of the second sock done, and it's sitting waiting for the rest of this sock. I'm going to do the heel in black, and then I'll do the toe in this again. I'll do cream with a red and a grey stripe in the toe. But hopefully I'll have plenty of time. I do my 60 minutes on my hat every morning, and because I get up really early, I have plenty of time, and I do 60 minutes, or not 60 minutes, 30 minutes. I do 30 minutes on this. So I have an hour of knitting on these as well. And hopefully they will be finished. I would like these in particular to be finished by the end of the month. We're only halfway through November. I'd like them to be finished by the end of the month, because I have the Cozy Knitters Advent socks. The yarn is on its way, and I want to knit those over Christmas, and I don't want to be knitting on too many things at one time. So that's what I'm working on. Socks for Peter, and it is a rare thing. I've only ever knitted one successful pair of socks, one disaster and one successful pair, and this is the second pair. So that's what I'm working on. I have nothing else on the needles. Today is actually Sunday, and today I work on a scrappy project, and I'm back on my scrappy crochet blanket, which I will show at another time. It's huge. It actually acts as a blanket now, but it's nowhere near finished. But I'll show that, as I say, at another time, and I'm going to work on it today. So that's really all that I have worked on, as I said, in the last, and working on in the last 18 months. I have plans for my knitting, and plans that you can join me in on some casual kind of knit along, make along, if you so wish, because I am intending to be here. And I'll share those briefly with you now, but I am hoping to do Vlogmas this year. I missed it last year. I found that I went through most of December last year looking and doing things and going, I should be recording this, I should be recording this. And then because I'd made the decision not to record, I was kind of, oh, I don't need to. And I felt a bit lost. So I'm going to do it again this year. I've all planned, all set, that I'm going to do Vlogmas. And a lot of people have been asking me was I going to do it. So it's official, I'm doing Vlogmas this year. It's out there now, I have to do it. But I'll talk about these projects, or these knit along, make alongs, a bit more during Vlogmas, but I'll give you the brief outline now so that you know what I'm doing, and for some of them you can prepare if you want to join in. They're unofficial. I think I'll just host them on Instagram. At the minute, that's my thinking. If you have any opinion on that, let me know. If you want a Ravelry group set up, I can do that, but just let me know and I'll go with the general consensus for that. But a few years ago, if you remember, I did a Lucky Dip Cal. And the Lucky Dip Cal was a great way of knitting down stash. And like every year, and like every year I usually fail, but like every year I decide that I'm not going to buy any more yarn. I know of a lot of yarn coming at Christmas. I've made sure I have a lot of yarn coming at Christmas. But I'm going to try next year as much as possible not to buy any fresh yarn, even though I am severely tempted by everything I see on Instagram. But one way of knitting down the stash I found was the Lucky Dip Cal. And if you'd like to join me again, I'll put the hashtag here that I'm going to use on Instagram. And you can start getting yourself ready for that. What I have done, I've already prepped a bit for it. I bought 12 bags like this. you can wrap them in anything. It doesn't matter. It could be plastic bags. It can be anything. But I bought 12 wee bags like this. And I got all my single skeins, or a lot of my single skeins. Double knit, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. This is just about using those random single skeins that any weight, you can do what you want with them. But it's just to bring those down. And I actually put them out on the floor in the other room here, and I got my daughter to go and pick 12 out of it. I don't know what 12 she's picked, which of them she's picked. She's putting them into this. Now, the one thing I did tell her to do was, I'm going to put a sticker on each of these with a month, or she's going to put a sticker on them with a month. So it's not lucky dipping that I'm randomly picking out every time. I have no clue what's in each bag, but she's going to stick the sticker on, and I think she has tried towards the end of the year to theme it for autumn and Christmas. That's just the way I'm doing it. You don't have to do it that way. It can just be random skeins. So a single skein in each bag, and every month, start of the month, you pick out your bag. You don't have to put the month name on it. You can just put it in the bag and then just randomly pick. As I said, it's very flexible. It's just the way I'm doing it this year. And you knit with that skein that month. It could be socks, it could be a hat, anything you want. It could be a project that you're working on and you decide to put that skein into it. An ongoing project. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's about using up those skeins. And make sure, if you're joining in with me and keeping me company in this, that you put the hashtag in so that I can see them and I can follow the hashtag and see what everybody's putting in. At the minute, I've no prizes. I just want to see how this goes. I don't want to put that pressure on just yet. It's just an informal knit along. The other thing that I'll show you this when I've it all put together. I'll show you what I've done with it in the next month or so. The other thing I want to work on, a few years, at the same time that I did the Lucky Dip Cal, I did a knit along on through your pattern books and the books that you have. This one is for me. If you have the same thing, you can more than happy that you join in. But what I'm going to do is a make along from Making Magazine. Making Magazine is one of my favourite magazines, and I think I have all 14 issues. This is the most recent issue. It is beautiful. It is a mix of knitting, sewing, there can be recipes in it, mending. There's lots of different things. It's making, covers the whole creative gambit of making. And as I said, I think I have all 14 issues because I just love the publication. And I'm actually gutted. It's very exciting for them. This is their last paper issue. They are rebranding as the Bright Collective, which I know very little about as yet. And I'm sure it is very exciting and it will be equally beautiful, but it's going to be a digital magazine, digital zine, which is fabulous. It's very exciting. And a lot of people would prefer that. It means that they don't have to find space. But I love the paper copies. I'm a book person. I'm a paper person. But I have all 14 copies. And I don't think I've made anything out of any of them yet. I enjoy reading them. I enjoy looking at them. But I've had, think, oh, I must make that. I must make that. And I mean, there's a sweater in this. I shall show you the sweater. There's a number of them. But this one really caught my eye. When I can find it. It's the Season Change Gansey by Amy Scher. And that is very me. A little bit of cabling, bit of texture, and then plain. I think it looks like a worsted weight sweater, but it's absolutely beautiful. But I haven't actually made any of the things. So my plan in 2023 is to have a year of making magazine. My plan is that once a month I pick one of the magazines. Obviously there's 14, not 12, but I'm planning to do a different magazine each month and pick one thing out of it and make it. It could be sewing, it could be where I make a recipe if there's a recipe in it, it could be knitting, it could be crochet, whatever the project is that takes my fancy. It could be small, it could be big, but one thing out of the magazine every month, just so that I'm actually using these beautiful magazines and making the most of them. So the hashtag for that will be Year of Making Magazine. If you've the magazine, it could be that you've only one or two of them and you just want to make something every month out of those. I just happen to have them all, so I'm doing one out of each. But if you have one or two of them and you want to do it, that's okay. Year of Making Magazine. It's all very informal, all very relaxed, no rules, all casual, which is how I like things. But that, I think, is it. I'm back. And I got incredibly nervous about doing this. Really, really nervous. I've been running around like a headless chicken all morning, panicking about doing this. And I've really enjoyed being back. I've now had it all to edit, which I haven't done in a very long time. And I'm actually going to have to enlist my husband's help to remind me how to do it, because he has his own YouTube channel that I guided him through at the start. And I've forgotten it all and he has to remind me of it all again. But that's for another moment of the day. I'm delighted to be back with you. I have really, really missed you. Please comment, please like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, but comment below, say hello to me. It's lovely to be back. It's lovely to see you. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you'll join me again. There probably won't be another full episode like this before the beginning of December, but Vlogmas will be starting on December the 1st and I'm really excited about that, and I shall join you then. Until then, have a lovely few weeks.